The Vanishing Room, a reality-based horror story, Chapter 1. The arrival. The highway stretched endlessly in front of them, an unbroken ribbon of cracked asphalt. Clara gripped the steering wheel, her eyes heavy from driving all day. Beside her, Evan fiddled with his camera, checking the battery for the 5th time. In the back, Jonah was half asleep, his head leaning against the window, while Maya quietly flipped through a worn notebook filled with research notes. They had been on the road for nearly 12 hours, chasing down leads for their documentary. The subject wasn't glamorous. Small-town disappearances, cases that had gone cold, families that never got closure. Clara believed there was a bigger story hiding in the forgotten corners of the country, patterns, connections, maybe even answers. But tonight, all she wanted was a bed. When the van rolled off the highway, the tires crunched over gravel. A flickering neon sign loomed out of the dark. Hillcrest Motel Vacancy. Half the bulbs were dead, so the sign read more like Elka Motel. The building behind it was small, one story, painted a dull beige that time had stripped bare. This place looks welcoming, Evan muttered, lifting his camera as though framing a shot. If welcoming means murder vibes. Jonah smirked without opening his eyes. Cheap though, that's what matters. Clara parked in front of the office. Inside, a man stood behind the counter, tall and thin, his face stretched tight over sharp bones. His eyes were pale, watery, and they didn't blink often enough. Checking in, he asked. His voice was smooth, but hollow, like he was repeating lines he had spoken too many times. Yes, Clara said. 2 rooms, please. The man slid a book across the counter, an actual guest book, its pages yellowed, filled with looping signatures. Clara flipped through as she wrote their names. Something made her pause. The most recent dates were from 3 years ago. Slow business? Evan asked, trying to lighten the silence. The man's lips curled faintly. Quiet. People come and go. He handed them to Braski's. Room 6 and Room 7. As Clara turned away, she had the strange sensation that his eyes were still on her, even when her back was turned. Chapter 2. First night, the rooms smelled faintly of mildew and cigarettes. The wallpaper was a faded floral print, curling at the edges. A single lamp buzzed in the corner, casting uneven light. This is perfect, Evan said sarcastically, dropping his camera bag on the bed. Exactly the kind of place you disappear from. Don't start, Clara replied, though she couldn't deny the unease prickling at her skin. Maya, however, was unusually quiet. She sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes fixed on the wall. Do you hear that? She whispered. They paused. At first there was nothing, then a sound, faint, scraping, slow and deliberate, like something sharp dragging across wood. Rats, Jonah said dismissively. But the noise didn't stop. It went on, pausing only when someone spoke, then starting again. That night, Clara woke suddenly. The room was silent except for the buzz of the lamp, then knocking, soft, deliberate knock. She held her breath. The sound came from the wall behind the bed. 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks, again, a pattern. Clara pressed her ear to the wall. For a moment, she thought she heard something else too. A voice, faint, muffled, words she couldn't make out. Her skin went cold. She pulled back, staring at the wallpaper, at the cheap wooden paneling beneath. Someone was behind the wall. Chapter 3. The passage in the morning, Clara told the others. Jonah laughed it off. Old buildings make noises, pipes, wood creaks. You've been watching too many horror movies. But Maya looked uneasy. No, she said quietly. I heard it too. Evan's curiosity got the better of him. He pulled the bed away from the wall. Behind it, the wallpaper was torn in one spot. Beneath, the wood panel looked wrong, too thin, like it wasn't a real wall at all. He tapped it hollow. With a pocket knife, he pried at the edge until the panel shifted. Dust billowed out. Behind it was a narrow gap, just wide enough to squeeze through. Jonah swore under his breath. Nope, not happening. But Evan grinned nervously. Are you kidding? This is gold. Hidden spaces. Creep factor 10 out of 10. It's perfect for the doc. He shoved his camera through first, clicking on the light. The beam revealed a narrow passageway, barely wide enough for one person. The floor was concrete, stained dark. The walls were lined with small holes, peepholes looking into the motel rooms. Oh my god, Maya whispered. There were dozens of them. Chapter 4. Evidence, the group argued, but curiosity won. They crawled into the passage, one by one. The air was thick, stale, suffocating. Along the walls they found more than peepholes. There were shelves stacked with old video equipment, cameras, notebooks filled with messy handwriting. Dates, times, descriptions. Woman checked in 1:13 a.m., screamed for 12 minutes. Man fought back, Tied him in room 9. 2 checked in, only 1 left. Maya's hands shook as she flipped through page after page. These are records, she whispered. He's been watching people for years. Evan filmed everything, his camera light cutting across the darkness. But then he froze. At the end of the passage, there was a door. Heavy steel, scratched and dented from the inside. Something banged against it. They all jumped back. The sound was unmistakable. Fists pounding, and then a voice. Hoarse, weak. Help, please. Clara's breath caught in her throat. There's someone in there. Jonah grabbed her arm. No, this is insane. We need to leave now. But Clara couldn't move. Whoever was behind that door was alive. For now. Chapter 5, The Vanishing. That night, Evan couldn't sleep. He sat awake, replaying the footage, the notebooks, the voice. At some point, he realized the sound had returned to scraping, but this time it wasn't in the walls. It was inside the room. He turned slowly. The panel behind the bed was ajar. Guys, he whispered, shaking Clara awake. But when they turned back, Evan was gone. His camera lay on the floor, the red light still blinking. The panel swung shut. Chapter 6, Descent. Panic set in. They searched the passage again, their flashlights cutting through the dust. Clara's voice echoed off the concrete. No answer. But down the hall, the steel door was open. Inside was a soundproof room. Bare concrete, a single chair, bolted to the floor, chains, stains that had seeped too deep to ever clean. On the wall, dozens of Polaroids hung in neat rows, smiling faces of travelers, couples, families, all taken in the motel parking lot, just before they vanished. At the end of the row, a new photo had been added. Evan, his smile uneasy, taken only hours ago. Maya began to cry. Jonah swore, slamming his fist against the wall. Clara forced herself to keep looking, because in the corner of the room was another camera, recording. The red light blinked steadily. Someone was watching. Chapter 7, The Truth. They confronted the motel manager. He stood calmly behind the counter, his pale eyes unblinking. Where is he? Clara demanded. What have you done? The man tilted his head. People come and go, he repeated softly. That's the way of things. Jonah lunged forward, but Clara pulled him back. There was no use. They needed to escape. But as they fled toward the van, the headlights flickered on. The engine roared without anyone inside. Maya screamed. Chapter 8, The Hunt. The night turned into chaos. Doors slammed. Footsteps echoed in the passage. No matter where they ran, the motel seemed endless, looping, trapping them in its walls. Clara realized too late, the motel wasn't just a building. It was a trap, a machine built to catch people, and the man at the desk was only part of it. In the final moments, one by one, they vanished. Jonah dragged into the passage. Maya pulled into the steel room. Clara was the last. She ran, breath ragged, until she found herself back at the office. The guest book still lay on the counter. She flipped to the last page. Her own name was already there. Dated tonight. Epilogue. The camera. Weeks later, police responded to a tip about Hillcrest Motel. They found the place abandoned, dusty, empty. But in room 6, a camera sat on the bed, still recording. The last thing it captured was Clara's face, pale, terrified, reaching toward the lens as the panel behind her swung open. Then darkness,